I'm not necessarily against what you're doing. I'm just telling you what you might run up against.
Well, I appreciate, and I'm going to spend more.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to meet the library's needs.
Okay, I understand that.
And keep the library status quo pretty much. You know, I'm not looking to build new buildings or anything like that. I mean, I can't even fathom thinking of doing something like that.
What do you think is the biggest reason for the expenses to increase?
Just generally, supplies cost more, telephone, even though I've negotiated with Frontier to lower phone bills. The cost of supplies and books.
Is your phone bill high because of computer use or what?
No, the computer use is through the UTEN for the most part. Some of, at least one of our libraries, well, Monticello Library still pays for UTEN 2021 because of an agreement made when we switched over to the fiber optic lines. The others, things like Bluff has to do River Canyon wireless for their internet. So that's on top of the telephone line. It costs a lot to have even just DSL library in Montezuma Creek. That bill's over $120 a month for phone and internet.
So where are your satellite libraries? Still the same place all of them?
Yeah, LaSalle, Montezuma Creek, Bluff, and then we have one at Navajo Mountain High School and one at Monument Valley High School, which I've actually negotiated the prices down on covering those two libraries with the school district. Then there's, the two main branches.
So there is library services at every one of those locations?
Yes, yes. And the hours right now are fairly limited at most of the satellite libraries. They're anywhere from 9 to 12 hours a week. So it's not excessive. And some of them are getting more and more visitations from patrons, new patrons, almost every day at like Montezuma Creek and in Monument Valley. So I'm seeing there's an increase in usage at a lot of the satellites.
But those satellite libraries, do you have computer use there?
Yeah. Right now it's just a couple of, at the high schools there's quite a few quite a few computers. But at our smaller libraries, the LaSalle, Montezuma Creek, and Bluff, we only have 3 patron computers. So.
You have Navajo Mountain, Monument Valley, Montezuma Creek, LaSalle, Bluff.
Bluff, right, LaSalle, yes. As well as the 2 main, Blanding and Monticello.
Is there any possibility that you could be looking for outside source to raise some money?
I do write grants, quite a few every year, and bring in some money to cover things. Sometimes it's for supplies, like this year I got a $5,000 grant and bought a number of computers and a printer for the libraries with that. We did get a book grant, $3,000 in one grant, and $2,200 in another grant for kids' books. Kids and young adults books. So I do look for money out there, and then we get a state grant. It's called the CLEF grant every year, and this year it was $8,100, and we use that for our special programming during the summer library activities, some for technology, buying computers or what have you, and then some for collection development. We increased our audiobook collection this year, so audiobooks are still very popular. So.
When is the public hearing scheduled?
We haven't set a date for that yet, but we'll be bringing that to you in October to make that happen for a truth and taxation hearing for 2020, not only for the library potentially, but for some other funds as well. But prior to that, you will also have available to you information about, I believe the health fund is interested in a similar approach, and I think it'd be important to know what other taxing entities are planning, outside of the county, just to have all that in context, right? Because if the school district, for instance, is planning on raising taxes as well, that'd be really good to know. Just because county only controls so much, and understanding the entire tax burden for a resident or businesses was sometimes hard to get a handle on, but it's valuable information.
Well, will we hold that public hearing here or somewhere else?
To be determined, but probably, I would guess here, just at a sort of common expectation.
Now, is our first meeting in October, is it here or in Blanding?
It's in Blanding.
In Blanding, so that request to be on the agenda that was sent from, I'll probably need to notify them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I haven't got anything else.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Elmo Creek Ben Musselman.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
The McElmo Creek Bridge is a project that San Juan County had applied for, I think in 2013, somewhere about there. Yeah, we've been working to get that bridge repaired, replaced. We applied for Joint Highway Committee funds, and with the transition of the Navajo Nation roads shifting back to Navajo DOT, about 3 years ago we approached Navajo DOT at the onset of that for the match funds of $99,926 for the replacement of the bridge. 3 years in the making. We have an IGA sent to us a month ago, but the IGA, we did not bring that forward because it had no concession for if there were overages on the construction cost for the bridge. So this morning, and I did make one copy as it all came out by the time I could get up here. I did email this to all the commissioners and Mr. Everett, but we got a written confirmation that should there be overages, that the NDOT and San Juan County would work together to find a way to cover those costs. So with that, and having had legal review, that was kind of our only holding point currently with the IGA. So with that, I think we're comfortable to bring the IGA forward for signature in commission meeting. I don't know if you had a chance to read through the letter. I think it seems sufficient to give us what we need.
I agree.
So I think we're finally there.
Yeah, looks good. So do we need to bring it back?
Yeah, we'll bring it back to commission for signature, and it will also need legal, county legal counsel signature on it as well. So we'll come back in commission for that.
Put it on for first.
It's. I think you got it on here. We've got it on for.
Oh, right.
So this came from Garrett?
This came from Daryl Bradley. It's accompanied by the supporting document that Daryl Bradley is signing for and has the authority to sign for Garrett Silversmith in his absence.
Well, you have a letter from Garrett, though.
Yeah, but it's signed by Daryl Bradley
Oh, okay.
for Garrett Silversmith. But that's why he accompanied it with the verification that he can do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Over the weekend, Mr. Musselman, I received some information that $170,000 was being earmarked for something. I'm not sure it's from the BIE or NDOT. Have you any work on?
Was what chapter? What chapter was having funds?
This is from INDOT.
From and but to what chapter? In what chapter was the work? The money
I
going
have
towards?
no detailed information.
The
That's all
only-
I received.
The only thing that I,
Black Horse.
Taft. The only thing that I know of that's kind of in the works is I was contacted by the Aneth chapter, Wilbur Capital, and they are working for some type of repairs. I don't know if it's just pothole patching or what on the what's the code? I can't remember the number. It's N5099. It's a BIA route, but Navajo DOT and BIA are working together for a funding package to make repairs. Oh, that's the only thing I'm aware of in the work right now.
Okay.
I don't.
But they're doing the work.
They're doing the work.
They're asking.
No, they're not asking
county.
San Juan County for anything on that one. That was just Wilbur calling to find out why there was a cattle guard in the road and when it was put there, and we went back as far as our records show, and it was there for at least 4 years, and they're thinking they want to take it out.
This was
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'm still trying to get it in writing from them. So,
Then the next one, do you have any further questions on the McCummel Creek Bridge?
Are they replacing the whole bridge, or is
Yeah.
it just the?
The bridge and the abutments, fix the scour
bridge
problem.
And the abutments?
Yep, the current bridge is built out of drill steel and layers and stacked and layers again and all welded together. It's a pretty unique bridge, but there's no way of putting a capacity, a
Yeah.
load rating on that bridge. We're doing the hydraulic analysis, and we've kind of started this. We've hired a consultant. It's HNTB is the consultant through UDOT. This project all happens through UDOT, but they're going to do a hydraulic analysis to decide, because of the location, we're struggling to have a UDOT approved concrete that can make it to that site. So we're really pushing towards and hoping that we can do precast box culverts rather than a bridge, and if that is the case, then the cost hopefully will come down substantially from the original estimate of a bridge. But that's all we got to get the engineers on site and do get it designed and see if that's going to work. So that's
Building bridges.
building bridges. Yep.
Or repair.
rebuild,
Yeah.
Rebuild. Yeah.
rebuild.
And then on item 3 was to review the amendment to the road agreement with the U.S. Forest Service for emergency road repairs. That one also will come back. We got I sent out, because this one had some urgency because of the emergency repair and the funding that was tied to a fire. I think we got response from. Did we get multiple commissioners' response? Before we got Bruce responded to that request for
Kenneth said
authorization, and I believe Kenneth and so David had signed that agreement, and what that is to receive, when they were fighting the fire, they were using the Causeway Road, and it fell apart on them, and we had to do some extensive repairs to get people who were in there out of there. They couldn't get their campers back up out of there. And so the Forest Service drafted an amendment to their agreement that they will provide us with $22,000 for those emergency repairs to happen. And so that's what that's about, and we'll bring that also back to ratify the signature. But again, we have moved on that because of the urgency and the funding availability. We did not want to wait and lose that funding to some
Was it
other.
right at the causeway?
No, it's the dugway where you drop off to
Okay.
Chapin Rocks. That dugway is what fell apart, and we've hauled 20 loads of pit run so far. We were waiting, and now we're getting the moisture so we can actually start to get it to hold together. But there were some major sand traps out there that they were caused by the fire trucks. So
We'd normally be a little hesitant to sign on behalf of the commission, but since it was about receiving,
mhm.
not giving, felt like that was, we'd be okay there.
Any other questions?
Absolutely.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
San Juan County Planning Zoning Commission, Mr. Byrd.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're here to discuss an application for appointment to the Planning Commission. We've actually received 3 letters of showing interest in that position. Right now, we have an open position in Bluff. One of those letters that we've received is from a resident in Bluff. And so if you're amenable, I'll come back in the general meeting and see if you want to approve her application.
Bluff, question.
Sure.
Bluff is now on its own.
Mm-hmm. It
So
is.
they have considered their own plan zoning committee within
Mm-hmm.
the city.
Sure.
How do we fit in?
Well, we'd be talking about projects in the Bluff area and south of Blanding that person would represent and have say in. Because there is development that can happen outside of the county or the city proper there. When this ordinance, when the planning commission was formed, it set out different geographic areas to address, and that hasn't been changed or amended. So right now, we still have an open slot for a Bluff resident to sit on that.
That's not formally in a code though, is it?
No, but it's in their,
It's in the
it's in their bylaws for the planning commission, so it's their controlling operational document.
Gotcha.
I think generally what we've tried to do is get a diverse group from all over the county so that we get the interests of people that doesn't necessarily have to be a Bluff resident, but somebody in that general area, to kind of make sure that those interests are brought to the commission. I think, Blanding's incorporated. We have somebody from the Blanding area. Monticello's incorporated. We have somebody from the Monticello area. Just try to spread it out throughout the county so that when decisions are made, that there's it's an informed decision, including everybody's perspective.
Walter, something, may I? Mr. Chair? Sorry. It looks like online the list has a few individuals listed as having their terms expire at the end of
19.
December. What's the typical practice? Do they typically get reappointed? Do they? I'm
Well,
just curious.
in the past, if they've been willing,
Yeah.
so we haven't had people beating down our door to
Yeah.
serve on the planning commission.
It's a volunteer position, and a lot of times these volunteer boards, it's nice to be on the board until something comes up that's controversial, and then
Like windmills.
then I'm sure the volunteers wonder if they made the right choice.
And sometimes when members drop off, there's a lag of months until we can find
Yeah.
a replacement for them. They're the re-up. Generally, we're grateful to let them re-up.
How do we advertise prior to the expiration?
Well,
Do we advertise or do
we do,
just
yeah.
depend?
we
Put a notice in
in
the
the
local papers, and
yeah, we've done that in the past.
well,
Try to
I think
attract
we listed
candidates.
on our website. We listed that the positions will be open. In the past, Willie, it's been more of a little bit of a responsibility, or at least the commissioners have tried to take it upon themselves to do some recruiting.
Yeah, and it necessarily hasn't been my office that does that. The county administrator in the past has been the one that's advertised for that and has tried to fill the open positions.
If it does take that long, might as well hit the ground now.
Unless the people that are serving there are willing to.
Well,
serve.
they can express
Yeah,
their continuation also. And so those are taken into consideration. Any more comments or questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is
Right along.
David
Got
Everts,
coffee for you.
Spanish Valley area.
Yes.
Hi there.
Yeah. Pulled my notes here. Moving very quickly. Very efficient. So, the reason this is on the agenda as an item for discussion is that the Spanish Valley area, as you all know, there's a lot going on there right now with regard to planning efforts. And I wanted to give you an update of both where those efforts are at and also respond to and brief you on a proposal that at least some of you have heard about to create some sort of development advisory committee specific to Spanish Valley. And this had actually come up, if you remember, all the way back in the meeting that you all had up in Grand County in Spanish Valley when your executive director of SITLA was with as well. There had been, well, Spanish Valley is a special place with special needs, and in other parts of the state we've seen where even though it's in the same county, certain portions of the county are have their own separate planning commission, for instance. And so I think that there's been some discussion among residents in the area. Do we, meaning they, I'm not a resident of Spanish Valley, do they want to have a special way of administering or advising the county with regard to development issues in Spanish Valley? And certainly, you know, from where I sit, I can see the value of that in some form or fashion at some point. You have to be obviously very careful about making sure you're still conforming with state law, that you're operating in an efficient manner, that you're working in a way that's not contrary to your currently established planning processes and planning advisory processes. I mean, at the end of the day, as you all know, the Planning Commission for San Juan County is an advisory body for the most part. They may have a couple of quasi-judicial things they do, but for the 99% of the time, they are there by state law, required. They're there to provide advice to the commission, and the commission can take that advice or not. It's totally your discretion to do so. But having said that, then what is in front of you has, I think some of you have been approached about this sort of special committee idea, which again, probably has some merit in some form or fashion. I have discussed this with Mark Vlasic with Landmark, who's the consultant leading the effort to do the planning work for to put together the ordinances for the new zoning for the area, which we'll get to in a second. And that process to approve those ordinances is certainly underway right now. The Planning Commission is going to consider them in October. They need to come to you by November for approval. And it's certainly my expectation, based on what I've learned about it so far, that whatever put in place, zoning, what the recommendation is from Landmark, whatever gets put in place for new zoning in Spanish Valley is going to require significant administrative process moving forward. So if the new zoning gets put in, somebody has a parcel they want to develop a certain way, it's not going to be a simple, check that box and I'll get it. Probably a pretty extensive process, a little more involved. And at that point, it may make sense to have in place something that is reflective of the request that you've heard from residents about some sort of advisory committee or some sort of way for residents in the area to have significant input into development applications. But I would say that until we know what the zoning is going to look like and until we get there, my recommendation would be for you all to defer any sort of decision around a development advisory committee until we get Landmark more involved and they can help you all figure out what that process looks like. It may need to be that for certain size of a proposed development in a commercial area that it gets kicked into a higher level of scrutiny regarding setbacks and noise pollution impacts, and if that happens, there's probably a role for someone to manage that process, either as a consultant or someone who's on a contract in a short-term way. And as part of that, then really it makes sense to probably have a different level of resident engagement. Now, if somebody's got a residential parcel and they want to build a house, that's simple and straightforward. That's a lot different than what we're talking about potentially happening in Spanish Valley, which may include, pretty significant multifamily, multi-use types of planned developments. And so all of that is a very wordy way of saying that there's probably a role for a resident component for advising you all and the development process, but my sense is that needs to come a little bit later once we figure out what that development process is. I stunned you all into complacency.
Any question, comment?
I'll make a comment. I'm not trying to be contradictory, David, but I view things a little bit different than what you've said. I think we have asked or given authority to the planning and zoning to look at building permits and approve building permits. I don't think building permits come back to the commission. I think they go to the planning and zoning, and that's the end game for building permits. I think it's the same thing with conditional use permits. Mm-hmm. And certainly we found that the court recognized the authority of the Planning and Zoning Commission when we had some issues with the Latigo wind farm. Mm-hmm. That ended up in the court, and the court did recognize the authority of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
As you delegated.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think they do a little more than maybe what these additional things that and you've made a very good explanation of how that works. The other point that I would like to make is that I think the suggestion for an advisory committee came up because of a single issue, and that was Love's Truck Stop. I think if the Love's Truck Stop issue is resolved, I think the biggest portion of the anxiety for the residents that have anxiety in that area, I think that might subside. And I think the process, the public process, if we follow it and do it correctly, I think the residents will have the advisory input that they're seeking with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and maybe there's going to be some change to there's possibly gonna be some changes to that planning and zoning group, and with those possible changes, maybe that would lower the level of anxiety for the residents down there. I agree with you. I think we kind of need to take a long look at it and not make an immediate quick decision on it. I spoke with, after meeting with residents yesterday from Spanish Valley, I did get on the phone and spoke with Dave Ure, and he intends to bring some information in PowerPoint to our next commission meeting, specifically concerning the Love's truck stop, and residents of the Spanish Valley certainly can have an opportunity maybe to interact with him when he comes down here. He's going to meet with both the San Juan County Commission and the Grand County Council on his visit down here, and I think both of us have, I'm not sure when Grand County Council meets, but apparently it's fairly close to when we meet.
Okay.
And so he's going to be in the area and would be able to maybe give some further update or some information about that whole issue. When we agreed to put money into the landmark study for writing new ordinances for that area, I think that was a big step on the part of the county in behalf of the residents of Spanish Valley, because either they were not and didn't feel informed enough, or hadn't been to the public meetings, or did not like components of the original landmark study and wanted to revisit that and look at it, and so we've done that kind of in response to their request, and now we have a draft proposal that everybody can look at and evaluate, and then get back with Landmark if there's still some things that are not acceptable to those folks, and I think that's appropriate. I think that's the way the process probably should be working, is getting their input and input from anybody. I'm not sure. Are those ordinances specific to Spanish Valley, or are they more specific to the county-wide ordinances?
No, they're very specific to the geographic area.
So I think we've made a real, we put a good step forward in trying to address the concerns of the folks in Spanish Valley with all of these things that we've done. So I agree with you. We need to look at it further.
Okay.
That's just
Appreciate that.
my opinion.
Question. This planning and zoning committee that was particular to Spanish Valley, did I understand that they are authorized for building permit issues?
That's been the process up till now, that a building permit comes to the county for approval. The planning and zoning, those come to Walter. He takes them to planning and zoning, and they discuss them and see if they've met all the requirements for a building, as far as size of the property, setbacks, all of those kind of things. And then they make the decision and approve or disapprove the permit. And it's the same way with the conditional use permits, Willie.
Does that apply to, let's say, Plan and Zoning Committee for Bluff or other areas? Would they be
Yeah, any
The
place,
same lineup?
any
Lineup?
place in the county, but it's for permits in the county only, not in the incorporated cities. The incorporated cities, Monticello, Blanding, and Bluff, all have their own planning and zoning to deal with planning and zoning inside the cities themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the,
But if it's out of the unincorporated area, those are,
Yeah, that's the county's planning and zoning.
okay.
We deal with unincorporated areas of the county, and certainly that's the bigger area in the county than the incorporated.
for what it's worth, Bluff is in the process of reworking well, they're in transition still a
Right.
bit with regard to how the whole approval process works for development, and so we're working through that with them right now to revise the interlocal agreement to make sure it's super clear what those steps are.
And I think they're even going through the steps to set ordinances
Yes.
that
Right.
will apply to building within the incorporated area.
They
Okay.
approved zoning within Bluff recently. So,
Do you think that at some point Bluff incorporated a pretty large area? Will that include that whole area?
I believe it does. All of the zoning that they approved includes everything within the town limits. Those maps I think they're online, right? Yeah,
It's like
it's big.
20 miles big or something.
It's the biggest town in the county, right?
Maybe the state.
It may be. All right. Well, that's good feedback. I appreciate
Okay.
that. Worth noting that with the coming ordinances, again, if approved, you're going to have things like a site plan review process that's going to be new to the county, and so it's just going to be. I think there's going to be some new steps involved here that you will become very familiar with, and then figuring out. To your point, Commissioner, actually, who does what at what point? Some of it may be a staff level decision.
This is what's being proposed with the landmark
Right,
study.
right.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Any
We'll,
others?
we'll depend heavily on our county administrator to keep us informed.
Excellent. Take the
Next,
village.
Mr. Perkins.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've got several things that I need to bring to your attention this morning. Probably the first one is the maintenance department's been inundated with old tables, chairs, desks, whatever you can think of, ranges, stoves, ranges. We've had 3 new buildings come online, and these new buildings, of course, have to have new tables, chairs, everything in them. So we're running. We have no more room to put anything. Is what it boils down to. So I've talked with a couple of companies that have those Connex boxes, and we can buy a Connex box for $3,600, which is a 40 by 8 by 8. And I'd like to get 2 of those if we could. We would put them down at the road department right next to our maintenance shed down there. And that would allow us to clean our maintenance shed out so we could use it for something else besides storage. We've got storage in the fair building. We've got storage down at the road department in Blanding. It's just been crazy.
I thought you were gonna say we're ready for a garage sale.
Believe it or not, we've put a lot of this equipment on that state bid where they can go online and bid on it. We've sold 3 ranges that came out of the public safety building. We've made about $3,000 or $4,000 on that. So, it's stuff that's too good to give away, too good to throw away, yet.
We have surplus sale with road department stuff occasionally, and with pickups and equipment and things like that.
It's all online now.
Would you, if these tables are old and they're not needed by the ones that gave it to you, what about selling them?
Well, we try to.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, we try to sell them. We have, just our own maintenance sale occasionally.
Uh-huh.
And try and advertise it through the county. And then, right now, like I say, we've gone to putting it online like the road department does their trucks and stuff like that. And that's where we sold the stoves and ranges. So, that's helped us some, but we've still got a ton of stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I'm ready to take it to the dump. But I'd really like to, just have a big open sale sometime and sell it. But in the meantime, we've got to find a place to.
That seemed to work pretty good when we had the equipment. People could just submit a sealed bid, come down and look at stuff and submit a sealed bid. I wonder if that wouldn't be a way to maybe dispose of some of it.
Raise some money.
Yeah, we put most of it on that online.
Well,
So-
I'm not sure how many local people go online to look for that kind of stuff.
And I don't think there is, because the road department sold this stuff all over the country, And I'll talk to Monica and see if there's
We ought
not
to see if we're gonna sell it for next to nothing, we ought to give our own citizens a chance.
Right.
To get it.
Yeah, and
There's probably people that would like a couple of tables, for family get-togethers or whatever. I don't know if you have chairs or,
we just got a lot of everything,
yeah.
and we've taken, the health department, we've been just struggling with that stuff, that they just left the building, went to the new building and said, it's all yours, you worry about it. But we've got stuff all over that we'd like to get rid of. Anyway,
What's your online connection?
the online,
Yeah.
oh, I'll email it to you. It's in my office, I'm not sure.
Benny, do you know it?
What was the question?
Online sale of surplus equipment
Publicsurplus.com.
is what?
Publicsurplus.com. I think there was a link to it from the county main webpage
Is
to
there?
our sell part. There was. I'll have to look to see if there is. Just quickly on that, public surplus, we've sold, like Monty said, we've sold a lot of stuff, and had we done local like we had done previously, and the dollars that we received from those local auctions, we would have probably had generated about $10,000 in the sale of trucks and equipment, but today, at the last time we looked, we're at about $46,000 because we're getting a lot larger market looking at and purchasing some of the equipment that's somewhat specialized. I don't know about
Well,
the tables and chairs.
I think that's a good point. But people's taxes bought this equipment. And so
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if, since we used their tax money to buy all this stuff, maybe we ought to be a little more aggressive in trying to let people locally know that equipment and that stuff is for sale. You know, I realize we probably make more money,
Right.
but
We try to pull a vehicle out to the road and
Yeah.
then we'll put the sell signs up on it and the address and try to direct people to but that's, other than that, we did run an ad in the paper
Yeah.
once to direct people there, but maybe it needs to be an annual thing.
yeah, I'm trying to be the devil's advocate on this.
Well, I understand where that money came from, you
Yeah.
know, and
So,
I'd like to have a yard sale.
yeah, well, I wonder if maybe some of the chapter houses might have some interest in some of
Yeah,
that
that's
stuff.
the reason why I
You
was
know,
asking
Kenneth
for connection.
Yeah. Maybe we ought to let them
Let them
know that
review and
website so they could have a chance at it too, Kenneth.
Yeah.
Maybe a grader is in there.
Maybe.
There will be.
You got one coming up, Benny?
Yeah, I think we may have 2 on there.
2 graders gonna be on there.
Of course, you gotta maintain.
Yeah,
You have all the lists, do
What's that?
you have all the lists of items that's gonna be up for sale, so that way we'll share with the chapters?
I'll get it to you.
Okay, and the same thing with Ben?
yeah. Send us the information.
Good.
Any others?
Well, I think one thing, Monty, I think everybody's feeling the pinch down at the fairgrounds, and the fair wants more buildings, and a lot of the buildings we're using down there were at one time used for fair buildings, now they're fire buildings
I know.
and storage for other things. Maybe we need to look at maybe constructing some additional buildings down there. I don't know, I understand these boxes that you can buy, but I just wonder if we ought to have something that looks a little more official, a little nicer.
Well, we would hide them.
You'd hide them out, okay.
No, I understand that, and I'm just trying to figure out some things to do. You know, I like the idea of you know, keeping the money in the county.
Yeah,
You know, I really like that idea, and so, you know, we'll see what we can figure
Okay.
out.
okay, well, there's a possibility of getting some help, a little bit of grant money and stuff too, so.
Okay, we've talked a couple of months ago about our roof over at the public safety building. I had a proposal from a company up in Salt Lake. They were gonna replace the membrane on the top and fix up stuff, but they basically couldn't say that, look, if we find something underneath that membrane, it's gonna cost you more money. You know, and I just wasn't sure if we ought to do something like that, but I've got another proposal from a company to put a sealer on top of the membrane that we've got. And it's this, it's called a Galco roof. And they've given me a proposal for the public safety building for $63,000 to do the whole building. And the other proposal was over
Yeah, I
$200,000.
remember that.
My thoughts on that were, I'd like to do part of the building now. And he said that, the guy said that he would work with us on, you know, just doing part of it now, part of it next year, whatever we can. And that we've got one area that's in really bad need of getting fixed. And we haven't broken it down to the cost of that, but I'm thinking we'd be looking at right around $20,000 for that. That being said, I had them look at our roof here also. This roof is, oh, I couldn't really tell you how old it is, but it's got the old rolled roofing on it, which hasn't been used in 30 or 40 years. There's some places, this roof right here is in pretty good shape because it's got a little bit of a tilt to it. The water doesn't just sit there. And the next roof over is a flat roof. It's got drains right in the middle of it, so everything kind of drains to the middle, but it's in rough shape. Let's see, 12 years ago, the far east roof, we put, I believe, $20,000 into that. We fixed that roof, and we had a company out of Moab blow on something that's similar to this. Right now, the proposal that he's given me for this total, everything on this roof completed, is $38,000. I'm not as concerned about this roof here as I am the public safety building roof. So that's something to look at. If you want me to, I'll bring those to commission meetings this time or next time to get some, to get money.
Have you thought of anything as radical as putting some kind of a sloped roof on these buildings in any way? Doesn't have to be a barn-looking thing, but maybe just something that will take the water off.
We tried that down at the senior center in Blanding.
Mm-hmm.
And we fought it until they tore it down.
It didn't change.
Well, the part that we put on, we were okay there, but we could not seal where we started the project.
Okay.
And then our other areas started leaking. It was just, if I'd have known this guy was doing that stuff, we would have had him on top of that roof doing it.
Mm.
Because this has got a 50-year warranty on it. It's not just a stopgap thing. It's pretty. It's a pretty good system. I've looked at it. I feel really pretty good about it. These are the two proposal contracts that he gave me.
I hope that warranty's better than the shingle warranty that you have on your homes. You get these 30-year shingles that last 15 years. And you have to go back and replace them, and nobody remembers that those were supposed to be 30-year shingles.
Yeah, and then just I've got a proposal for a weed ordinance down in Bluff that Mr. Ed Dobson sent me. He's I don't know if you noticed in the San Juan Record, we had our publication in there that we have to put in 3 times a year for noxious weeds. And we put the first one in this year, and Ed's seen that, and he gave me a call and he said, "Hey, do you mind if I pay to get that upgraded to like an 8x8 in the paper?" And I said, "Heavens no, if you're willing to do it."
And who is that Dobson?
He's, I think he's a retired attorney that lives in Bluff.
Oh, okay.
Nice guy, really nice guy. And he's really concerned about the weeds down there.
Mm-hmm.
He walks around town with a bucket and a shovel and just tries to do what he can do, you know. But he sent me this proposal, and the town of Bluff, the city council members have actually got together, and I think they went with him and helped write this. I'm not positive of that, but I thought I would give it to Kendall, let him look at it, and together we could make changes that we felt like were needed, and then I'd bring that to you and see if we can get it okayed.
There's two proposals.
One for this building, one for the public safety building, the jail.
So they're both listing at same code amount of money?
No, the public safety building is 60 some odd thousand.
61?
This building is 37 or something like that.
Yeah, 37, 95, 57.
And that's total, that's the whole building.
But this contract only says 31, 63, 31 down.
Front money is 31.
Do we have, David, do we have any capital money?
Not currently budgeted, it would be something we need to go
Oh,
track down. Would, probably be a draw from the fund balance, would be my guess.
So these two proposals are approximately 80,000.
Out of those, do you plan to address one project or both of them?
Well, I'd like to take care of part of the public safety building, if, as soon as I could. This type of material's got to be put on with, 70-degree weather.
Mm-hmm.
And, it gets pretty
Down.
cold like over here. So,
Commissioner,
On this, yes, go
Monty's
ahead.
trying to tell you we're gonna have a big wet winter.
On this flat roof, is there a plan to put a slope on it? There's a collection of, this is a high country. You're not in the desert. And you don't need a flat roof. Even the Hogan there.
Starting to leak, huh?
the public,
Marty, that compound that you had, besides
Galco.
running the liners, I think that works way a lot better than just the line. I've seen some guys use it for that,
Mhm.
and the only drawback is to tie into the lining up against the wall. But if he knows how to do it, I guess that would be
Well,
the only way to go.
Yeah, and I've asked him about that, and he says that they've done a lot of them and haven't had any of them leak yet. I purchased this stuff for part of my home, just to, I wanted to see. So I've got one area on my garage that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty rough.
Red Mesa School Library's been having the same problem. Flat roof, and the water will escape, but the only thing is it just still leaks. So they use some similar compound to that,
Mhm.
and that sucker's nice now. It's
Yeah.
not leaking at all. So maybe we need to jump on that and have them start using that before the whole material goes to waste, because if it gets any more moisture, we lose the whole roof, and that's going to
Yeah.
be more money.
Yeah. Water is really damaging to your structure, so.
So, commissioners, we might have to consider that particular contract, and I'd sure like to have that compound be used on that, so that way we don't damage the roof more than it is. Otherwise, we'll be sitting here debating again to see how much for the money's going to come.
I thought you were gonna tell Dave, go find some more money.
Oh, Dave, go find some more money.
Figure it out.
Right away, yeah.
Double time.
We'll do something.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Keep,
Just-
keep us on top of this money, don't let it go
Okay.
into the winter.
All right. Just as, I don't know, well, but I was recognized in,
Probably with a picture of a salad.
Recognize the salad of the month.
this is the Invader. It's the Utah Supervisors Association newsletter. And we put an article in there on camel thorn, was, I'm sure, all over the reservation. You guys probably recognize that. But it had started coming across the river, and it's all up and down along the river down there. And we've been fighting it, well, ever since I've been the supervisor. But I've got some pictures in there and an article on it that's, hopefully this will get us some more grant money next year. But I'll just leave you those. If you don't want them, you can leave them here. Other people might want some. And I took a picture of a bear down at San Juan Hill.
That San Juan Hill,
Yeah,
who's down there grazing?
I don't know what it was doing,
Wow.
but it was kind of interesting.
Scratching these initials in the rock.
Yeah. But there has been a bear other people have seen that bear too, so. But I got a picture of it and they didn't blow it up. They should have blown it up in there.
Is it in here?
Yeah, it's on the second page. All you can see, it's right underneath those rocks right there.
Okay.
Nasty bee.
It's, you don't want to drive through it because once it's mature, it'll
Yeah.
puncture your tires.
Can't go riding in it.
But anyway, I thought that was, you might,
Any research on how to eradicate or decrease
yeah, we've
biological?
chemical, they don't have a biological for it yet, but chemical, we've been using open site, which is a mixture of several different chemicals, but it'll take care of it. It'll get rid of it. We've just about,
With one spring.
well, no, you've got to work on it a couple of years, but we've cut down on that Guyman property down there. We've almost eliminated it clear off the property. So we're feeling really good about that. The Russian knapweed is taking its place, but
I'll bet.
anyway, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Monty. Monty does a good job.
Next would be federal agency regarding designation of the part of West White Regional Energy Corridor through the San Juan County. Nick Sandberg.
Good morning.
Good
How are
morning.
you, Nick?
I don't know if you've
seen the briefing paper, the single page on this West-wide corridor in your packet, but I'll just go through it real quickly. You may or may not know that the West-wide Energy Corridor was something that was required by the Energy Policy Act of 2005. And that was where agencies were to designate energy corridors for oil, gas, electricity, and distribution facilities in the 11 western states. And the Department of Agriculture and Department of Interior designated those corridors in 2009, and then there was litigation on those designations. So in 2012, there was a settlement agreement for that litigation. And as part of that settlement agreement, there was to be a review of these corridors periodically. And so that's basically what the process is right now. Now, the agencies have issued their draft report for regions 2 and 3, and that includes Utah, Colorado, parts of Arizona, and New Mexico. And of course, Utah is a part of that. In the corridor, we only have one corridor that goes through San Juan County, and that's the 66-212. And that's on this map. It looks like this. You can see the red, and I've marked the county boundaries on that. So we've got a corridor that goes through starting at the end of Spanish Valley, roughly, and running parallel to Highway 191, and it's so wide to the east because that includes that transmission line, or transmission lines that come south from there. And then as it jogs out to go into Colorado, it goes up East Canyon. And these corridors are basically designated using existing rights-of-way and transmission line corridors that were already in place. So this review and new report is out for draft. The previous draft, there was another period about a year ago, and we made a comment on that. It did not recognize the energy corridor that is designated in San Juan County through legislation. And this corridor, energy corridor, this west-wide energy corridor is within San Juan County's energy corridor, which is primarily the eastern part of the county. So this latest draft report does make reference to the San Juan County Energy Corridor. And the latest report in the draft takes into account certain such features as those that I've listed here. And that includes the Old Spanish Trail, the Mill Creek Canyon ACEC, Gunnison sage grouse designated critical habitat, along with Mexican spotted owl designated critical habitat, lands with wilderness characteristics, visual resource management classes, the LaSalle Airport, and military training routes, which go through here, as well as agricultural lands on private lands. However, none of those resources, as they've been considered, would require a change in the current corridor location. Now, certainly there could be impacts to these resources with future applications for projects, but those impacts would be addressed at the time of the project is in the planning stage within the corridors. And the preferred option for any new projects is to co-locate or basically put alongside existing infrastructure where that's feasible. So I've noted a last statement on the bottom here is a draft response that I think San Juan County could make on this current draft, and the agencies are accepting comments through September 23rd. Basically, we've had input. They recognize the energy corridor in the county, and we concur with the findings that they have in this report and how future projects would be handled. So I just leave that with you to consider. And we've got this item on the regular commission meeting coming up for your determination as to, I guess, whether you want to make a comment or whether you want to make the comment that's been suggested here.
Tell us why this is important, Nick.
Why is it important to the county? Well, it's basically infrastructure that's already there. There could be new infrastructure that's proposed in the future for energy, electricity, transmission. Of course, that's important to the county.
Broadband be included in that?
I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, there are other corridors within the county, and those are designated by, say, BLM in its resource management plan. Because obviously there are other transmission line corridors that go south and out of the county, but those were not considered as part of this west-wide, the 11 western states energy corridor. So there are other energy corridors in the county that are designated in land use plans. I don't know if the Forest Service has any, but they're certainly in the BLM plan.
So right now, is there major transmission lines for electricity in this corridor?
Yes.
And that's driving the
That
designation?
and the oil and gas pipeline.
Oh, the oil and
I can't
gas
remember, what's that,
pipeline, okay,
I
but-
can't remember, the Midwest or whatever
Yeah,
it's called, it changes names. And that's the one that goes out East
Okay.
Canyon, which shows
Yeah.
this corridor going through there.
Yeah,
So any future projects that come on, the idea is to locate them in this possible rights of way so they don't infringe on the existing, but basically minimize disturbance and I guess allow more room for whatever may come up on that.
Highways, byways,
The
that
high,
included?
yes, it is. The highway is basically the western boundary there, Willie, on that red mark on the map. Right.
So just to be, for simplicity's sake, to be clear, the current designation and the sort of proposed revised designation for the corridor doesn't, that isn't expanded in the revision, is it?
No,
No
it's
expansion.
basically no expansion. Just, yep.
so the reason we designate this corridor is for the future, that the future projects would locate within that corridor and not someplace else.
Yes, and I guess you could say it's also designated because of the existing
Sure.
infrastructure that's already in the ground or in place on there.
This is basically national land use planning.
Yes. Yeah, west-wide, all 11 western states, yeah.
Well, I think this is a good thing to do from the county standpoint. I think we ought to consider it.
Oh, yes.
Baga.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay, thank you. You want me to go ahead with the other stuff, or shall I wait till after Jerry? I can go
What
either
other
way.
stuff?
I can go either way. Well, I'm also on the agenda. Item 9. This was item 7.
Go ahead.
Shall I go ahead?
Yeah.
All right. The Forest Service is developing a land use plan, as you are aware, and they have a draft that's not ready for public review, but shortly will be, probably this fall, later this fall sometime. So they would like to brief the commissioners on what they have in that plan to date in basically a private meeting here. And I understand there is a meeting that you have on September the 24th. We had proposed that we're thinking roughly 11:30. You may be done with your other meeting. The Forest Service could come in and brief you on this plan. Is that agreeable to the commission? September 24th, let's say
I would
11:30.
suggest that we move that timeline closer to the beginning of the day.
Well, we're likely having a special commission meeting on the 24th
I know that.
at 9 or 10. So,
Well,
you want to have it earlier?
I'm just trying to get to the USAC convention at Midway that day, so
Oh.
the
And this, they're,
sooner we can have both of those meetings in the day.
and Commissioner, they're thinking about an hour
Yeah,
for their briefing, depending on questions, of course, that you might have that might expand it.
it'd be good if we could get both those meetings over before lunch.
Okay.
I can see if they, I
We
can see
can
if
do
they're
that.
willing to do that,
We can-
Free by lunch.
Absolutely.
yeah. Let's see, your other meeting starts at 9?
Well, we haven't set the time officially yet, but we could certainly do
Ma-
9, or honestly,
Now might be time to do it.
9, or could do it earlier if you wanted.
Well, like Bruce says, I think we can knock it out of the way before noon, then we should be able to do
Okay. So do 9 and then
it.
10.
Travel to Midway.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the Forest Service is gonna be available, because they'll have the forest supervisor and their planner, as well as Mike Deem. So the two guys coming from Price. So I'll ask for 10 o'clock, if that's good for you.
9 would be good.
9.
Even 9?
It's a long way for those folks to come from.
I know. I guess we didn't know how
Long
long,
way.
I guess we didn't know how long your earlier meeting was gonna last.
Yeah, we don't.
Look at my
we don't.
tracks.
But
You
you know
tell
what
them,
we
Will.
could do? If the earlier meeting needed to be continued until after this briefing, then we could stop the earlier meeting, have the
9.
briefing at a set time, and then continue on.
Would,
Hopefully that won't be.
is 10 o'clock all an option if 9 for some reason doesn't work?
Yeah. 9 preference.
But 10 maybe? Second choice?
So if we meet at 9
No,
to start our meeting
At 10.
first,
Yeah, the commission specific
yeah,
closed session
I
meeting.
would think we could meet with them by 10:30 or,
Maybe even 10.
yeah.
All right, I'm hearing a bunch of times here, gentlemen. Give me, what do you want to do? Shoot for 10 o'clock at the earliest, or what?
10.
Because we gotta have a meeting before that.
Yeah,
as a
Okay.
commission.
So
I'll let you know on that.
commission is
9.
9.
Okay, then switching to the Bears Ears Monument Plan, you know that the protest period ended on that in the end of August. And I found out that there were approximately 31 protests that are valid protests that were filed on that plan. And BLM and Forest Service are in the process of responding to those protests at this time. They plan on having a signed final decision on the plan around October the 11th. At least that's their target date. And of course, the Utah Governor's Consistency Review is ongoing, and that's to be filed by September 24th. And I believe PLIPCO has probably got the lead on that review, although other agencies are involved. So that's ongoing. On the plan, on the Bears Ears plan, the Forest Service and BLM had determined and made a finding of no adverse effect, according to the law and the regulations they use. They had a finding of no adverse effect on that plan on cultural resources. And the State Historic Preservation Office had concurred with that finding of no adverse effect. Well, some organizations have formally objected to that finding, and so the agencies have now requested the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation to give an opinion to the agencies on whether they correctly used the adverse effect criteria when they came to that finding of no adverse effect. I don't know how long the Advisory Council has to give that opinion. I'm guessing it might be 30 days, but I really don't know, and this just recently happened. Now, the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation is not the decision-making authority for these findings, but they are in an advisory capacity. The agencies would still have the authority to make the final decision after receiving the Advisory Council's opinion. So that's another thing that's ongoing with this Bears Ears Monument Plan at the present.
There was some concerns raised to the objection of not getting certain entities involved. a disagreement with the Bears Ears management plan. I think there's two issues. One is with the current smaller version of the National Monument. That's the one you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay. The other one is the San Juan County Resource Management Plan. I thought I submitted some information, but I guess it didn't show up. Maybe that reservation and state line, county line is the obstacle. So I'll resubmit those. So just to let you know what's coming up. Maybe they're all immaterial now, but concern is still there.
Okay. All right. Then on another subject, the ATV, San Juan ATV Safari just completed last week, latter part of the week. And the information I got is there were about 100 participants in that event. And there were supposedly many new riders who, and many of them were from Utah. And as far as we know, it went well. Some of the staff that worked on that ATV safari and made the rides were complimentary on the county road department for the condition of the trails that were used during the safari. They were in pretty good shape for the most part. So they were very complimentary to the county road department on that, so I'll just pass that along. So that's all I have for you this morning, gentlemen.
So where's the trail ride that took place? ATV? The safari?
Mostly public land, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, scattered throughout the county. Arch Canyon was one, the Paiute Pass, Jacob's Chair area. There's the Bridger Jack Mesa area, just to name a few, through the county. I can't remember how many.
Looking Ladder or any of that area out that way?
I think it is, but I'm not positive on that. There's 10 or 12 trails, it seems like, that riders can sign up for to go on, and the guides are basically volunteers, local people who guide the riders. I think there's up to maybe 15 riders allowed on each trail at a time. Yeah.
Any kind of ATV?
Pardon me?
Any kind of
I think
ATV?
so. And I understand the side by sides are becoming more common and maybe are the majority of the vehicles now, as opposed to what it used to be was just a ATV, single ATV with
I
a
don't think
rider.
they let the alcohol fuel ATVs go.
well.
No drags, I
No
guess, no
nitrous
drag
on it.
race, no nitrogen. Well, we'll see. All right. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank
Nick.
you.
Good.
Next would be
Jerry
Jerry.
McNeely, he's upset right now, because I don't know if he's gonna be able to make it up here. Nick Connick. Wait a
McNeely.
I'm coming.
You're not upset, right?
Greetings from the northern end. That was a little burst of energy I had.
Can use my
Dave.
broken hand for that.
Getting
You need
even.
to start wearing your brass knuckles.
Get me some Super Bowl rings.
Greetings to all you commissioners, administrators, and clerks. As far as nitro, you can run as much nitro as you want, as you can carry. If you want to be first in line or last in line is up to you, Kenneth.
Okay.
And there is about 15 trails that they go on. The majority of them are actually in San Juan County. You might want to know that, so.
Okay. Thank you.
And it is a big tourist thing, so. We have a bunch of tourists right now on side-by-sides, hundreds of them over the weekends, so.
He uses nitro in his Corvette.
He's talking about nitro, we're burning nitrous, not nitro.
Oh,
Nitro is really unstable, pretty dangerous.
Well, you'd be going so fast you wouldn't get to say anything anyway, Kenneth, so.
You might get there faster.
Well, he'd get there fast, all right. Whether he'd see anything is different. Okay, guys, meetings. I had my grand water and sewer meeting first, which, I give you my little, and this will probably be the last one because it's now starting to go down. I just wanted to show you how high it still is, which kind of tells you how good everything actually still is.
How's the fishing?
Great. The fish, actually, Willie and Kenneth, the fishing is unbelievable. They catch monster browns out of there that have been put in from Mill Creek.
What's the secret
Native.
weapon?
And they also have big bass that they've been catching out of there. You would think that it survived after the drought, but they did. But as you can see, it's just barely starting to drop off now. If you compare it with some of the old stuff, or like the last one, like last year, that's quite a difference. So we're quite happy with where we're at right now. And when you figure that little lake takes water out of Mill Creek, doesn't do anything to the aquifer, that's quite a project, really, that was set up. Clear back in the pioneer days, they was going to do it, but everybody laughed at, said no one would ever live out there anyway, and so. But actually, as it turned out, to divert the water from Mill Creek into Spanish Valley, they actually used the same existing tunnel as the old man did, his name was Sealy. And they still call that the Sealy Tunnel, where that water gets diverted through from Mill Creek.
So which of these colors represents?
All them years right there. So, the green one is the one that we are really interested in. Compare
The bold green?
all green.
Bold?
Compare that
There's
with
two green.
the dark green, the fat green. Let's put it that way. That one where your pin
This
is, that's the one we're looking at. That's this year's. Now look at last year's clear down there. That's the blue one, the dark blue one. That was last year. So that's what we're comparing with, and you can see there's a lot of difference.
2018.
And so we'll be shutting the lake off here very shortly. I think we shut it off in October. I got the show the date. I think it's in October. And see up there's the years for your colors, that little square. So, but the one we're concerned ourselves about is last year and this year. There's a lot of difference. And then everybody is calling for a wet year this year. I don't know if that's going to happen.
All they need to do is ask Willie.
Well, that's true. What's he going to do next year, Willie? Can I tell my board members that Willie says? Are you willing to put yourself out?
Everybody has been put in a position to not see the future.
So you're not.
Anybody that tells you what's going to happen,
So you're not going to tell me.
Yes.
You don't have no.
you have to have a worldly knowledge and understanding in order to predict what can happen.
So you're going to get into the climate change or any of that stuff, huh?
Well, climate change is, we've seen it,
Yeah.
Give us your
1930s,
report.
1930s,
Let me, my report takes long enough. I get in trouble. So, Willie, then you match up pretty good, I guess. Okay.
we'll go fishing one of these days.
You come down and I'll take you fishing. And I'll tell you, I'll guarantee you'll probably catch one of the biggest fish caught. And if we don't do that, we'll go ride for the Corvette and see what's going on. Where are you? Okay. Water and sewer report. Getting lots of calls on the roads, which I always get lots of calls on the roads. A lot of my calls was on the loop road, which, because it breaks off and it's in bad shape, and we're getting ready to redo it here in 2020 or 2021. And so I have to soothe the feathers of the people, but I called Benny, and Benny took his crew up there, and they did an awesome job on patching the loop road. It is, in fact, it's in A1 shape right now. I took a bunch of people up there on last Monday, and they were quite pleased with what the loop road looked like going to where the new stuff is. So highly recommend our road board, our road people, because they did one hell of a job on patching, because it's in bad shape. I mean, it's really bad shape. And that was caused from the construction of the years before. Our road got left because ours was in better shape than the existing road going into Grand County. So we thought ours would hold up, but it didn't hold up to the construction, and it just went to hell. So now we need to redo ours, and that has been set up for the 2020, 2021 era. Then we'll have a new road all the way to 191, hopefully. Okay? And then I've met with, we've had lots of meetings with different people. They're getting kind of irritated because it's taken so long to do our construction on water and sewer. But we're just about there with the main lines. We're checking some leaks and stuff. And now we're looking for a contractor to hook the housing to the main lines. Then we'll have that done. The next layer is what I'm getting phone calls on is roads, and we got it set up to redo all the roads in the area that we've tore up. So it's going to be, if people will be just a little patient, it's going to be great. Because right now I'm catching a lot of flack. I'm getting a lot of heat. The only part that hurts is there's some people that won't talk to me anymore that used to talk to me, because I kind of talked them in, thought this was a good deal. So that's the only part, and I can live with that when it's all said and done, because it's going to be great. Okay, Sitla, I'll jump to Sitla. Sitla's still doing their same thing. They're doing our roads. They owe us some stuff. We're working on that. I'm trying to work on that with Brian, little by little. So they're just kind of hanging in there doing some stuff with our roads, a little bit with our pipelines, water lines that kind of was little niches in it, that little hiccups, and we're getting little citizen complaints, and so we get everybody involved and we talk it out and hash it out. So we're going through that right now. So Settle's not out of it yet. They're still in there very, very much. Forest Service, Nick hit on that pretty good. When I talk to the Forest Service, they just tell me the general. Right now, they have been fighting the forest fires. You've had 3 new fires here in this area since I was here last time. They were just small ones that got put out immediately, so that was no big deal. Right now, they've brought up our old problem with we have a Sheriff Nyland road exit from his property to the main road. They've brought that up again, and they asked for me to set up a meeting with Sheriff Nyland so we can get that settled with his access road that they want to change. So we're working on that. Sheriff doesn't want to change it, but they want to change it. Okay, the BLM. I did bring, I've had a hard time visiting with the BLM. But I did when I did meet with them, they gave me the notes to the CCP meeting. So generally, there's a bunch of stuff in there that you guys may have already saw. I know, Dave, didn't you go to the CCP meeting?
I did.
Okay. They do a summary. And so if these guys, and
Willie goes to that too, doesn't he?
you go to CCP, Willie?
Canadian Country Partnership.
I was gonna go, but I didn't, never did.
Okay, well-
I went in your place last time.
Because Dave was there. They told me that you was there, so I figured it was pretty well covered. I didn't know that. I go over this stuff with those guys, my main stuff, I'm still concerned about Wilson Arch and the wells out at Lisbon Valley and the Copper Mine and the mine in LaSalle. That's my main concerns because they're closer to our area. And so, but it does have the letter, county,
What you need to be concerned about, Wilson Arch, is somebody's gonna get killed there one of these days.
well, I brought that up
People
our last
stopping.
meeting, and it's worse.
Running across the road and traffic coming.
See, I brought that up our last meeting, so when whoever
It's doing
meets with
nothing to get
UDOT
worse.
needs to bring that, because it's worse now, like, I got stopped 2 times coming over. One time was short, that Hole in the Rock stop was short, but the next stop at Church Rock, which would be by that, but anyway, there's still, you got that line, there was 33 vehicles in the line, because I counted them as they went by. So I was there probably 15, 20 minutes waiting for all that. Well, when all those vehicles are trying to pass each other, and then, like I said last meeting, which I saw it with my own eyes, Wilton Arch was horrible because the tourists were all parked there and trying to get across the road. And so it's very, and we brought this up to UDOT since I've been working for you guys, and nothing's ever happened. It's still the same way. And those people pull over, and then they'll, like, a group will start across, and then one will forget the camera. So he runs back, gets his camera, and instead of looking where he's going, he just takes off across. So it's very, very, very dangerous.
Sound
Not
like
just a
just
little
about as
bit.
bad as the Forrest Gump Hill.
Forrest Gump Hill,
That
yeah,
thing
it
is
is.
really
Either
bad.
that or
It's getting that bad.
Monument Valley Crossroad right there. One life has
Yeah.
been lost recently as a result of
Well, somebody's going to lose it there, especially
Both
if
of those,
process.
both of those are the state road, isn't it?
Yep.
So why can't
State
we
road,
yeah.
draft a letter,
Yeah,
a concern to the state?
we have lots of times, but nothing ever happens, Kenneth. I mean,
Down at
We've
Monument
met
Valley,
with
they're
them.
putting a roundabout there though, aren't they?
they're slowly going at it. The last, as I heard, they did advertise for it. No contractor was submitted or interest. So they re-advertised
Wow.
now. So it'll take, when is it? 2020 in order, it's like March 2020.
Spring,
something like-
spring, summer for
You know,
construction.
both
Yeah.
sides of the areas on holidays, it gets really, really
Did we
bad.
get
Wilson Arch and
a
Forrest
letter
Gump
of
Hill.
concern?
So is there a way that you can draft a letter for us?
Wilson Arch,
Are we talking about Wilson Arch?
Wilson
Okay.
Arch.
Both of them, Wilson Arch and also Forrest
Camp
Gump
Hill,
Hill.
and Monument Valley cross.
we also have our own person with UDOT, Dave, that you can
Was it
call.
Monty?
That's over our district.
I
I can't remember what his name is right
Chet?
now.
I think.
Ben might, yeah.
So UDOT Region 4 created a deputy director position under,
Yeah.
oh geez, I'm forgetting.
He's
his name.
over our whole
Yeah,
little.
he's there.
Yeah.
Anyway, and his name's Monty Aldridge is
Yeah.
the deputy director focused on the eastern side of Region 4, because Region
Yeah.
4 goes from St. George
Yeah.
over here. So he was very responsive when I inquired about the roundabout project.
Oh, okay.
We'll
Well,
keep
actually,
staying in touch
with our
him.
construction going on, Wilson Arch is one of the worst.
Yeah.
And if you drive it enough, you'll see that between
David, the
Wilson
guy-
Arch and Church Rock.
The guy in charge of this region
On the
for
side.
safety
Yeah,
is Robert Dow.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
yeah, we have one guy that we can report to immediately for immediate reaction, is the way I was understood.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll call
I've got
him.
Robert's contact
Yeah.
information. if you need.
So if there's not any
Yeah.
questions on this BLM stuff, which a lot of it Nick went over, a lot of it I went over last time, because this is actually clear from last meeting, these CCP meeting notes. Other than our construction is, we just need to get it going, get it cleaned up, get the roads done so people can complain and see that it's actually gonna work. Everything in my area is actually doing really good. There's a few that are still concerned, but As was brought up earlier, the truck stop is the biggest concern, and theoretically, that's between Sitla right now and Loest. I don't hear it. No, they don't tell me anything, so I don't even know where we're at with that. It's kind of died down. So that's about all I got on
Folks at
that.
Spanish Valley still meeting?
No,
They're not meeting at all.
no.
These three are.
We are.
You got your own little group right here that are
the
very vocal.
Yeah, they're having meetings.
Yeah,
The reason why I'm asking is that whenever they have meetings, maybe it might be good to be there to,
I'm at, unless I have a special meeting, I'm at the most of public meetings. I am at the public meetings. I'd have to admit to that. I'm kind of quiet because I do people's
You want to
stuff.
invite Jerry to come?
Sure, we don't do anything,
No.
or say anything ugly.
Yeah, I think they'll.
just don't beat them up on.
Will you make sure Bill Love's there?
I'll be there, but I don't want you there.
See? See, there
I
you
thought
go.
you and Bill were good friends. You
Well-
told us last time
Well-
you were best friends
We
with
agreed
Bill.
twice in 25 years.
Wow.
I told him the third time.
Let's just say we had lots of arguments in the past. And I thought he had left, and I found out, no, he hasn't left at all. So,
You just moved to Patrick County.
yeah, he just moved across the border a little bit, where I happened to be moved, so it's not over yet. But Bill and I, we don't agree on lots of things, but
I was gonna take the both of you out to shooting range, but I better not.
no, that's not a good idea.
Well, thank you very much,
Okay,
Jerry.
that's my report. If you need me, call me, or call Bill Love and he can get a hold of me.
All right,
Jerry.
that sounds good.
Ken's like,
How much money you got in your pocket?
about 10
These are very, very highly praised,
respected.
you know.
Okay, I'll give it back if I just want to see you.
You probably could use one. Good thing that I'll give it to you,
Thank you.
free.
Thank you.
I'll give you mine if you want.
Well,
Hey, don't be giving away your good stuff.
Hey, anything to make these people happy.
we got 5 minutes left.
Here, Jerry, you can have it back.
You don't
It's
need
got your
it?
special holes. I got.
You mean she traded, see? I
Should we
told you
have
they
the
don't like
closed
me.
session before our meeting?
I like it. You fix my roll.
See, they both have his graph and my graph.
Well, it says
Yeah.
that we do have an executive session down here.
Is Kendall here?
He's over there.
We might need more than 5 minutes. Yeah. We'll probably need like 10 or 15, but I guess we could delay the start of the meeting if you want.
I can give a report on my trip to DC.
Yeah, why not? The only thing I need to know is, they tell me that Phillips is closed, is that right?
It's gone. Yep.
Not going to DC no more then.
Okay, I went to DC last Monday, for two reasons. One was a invitation to the White House for commissioners from specific western states to talk to administration officials about western public land issues. And we were in there and talking to a group, and the one guy announces we have a special visitor that wants to come in and say hi to you. Everybody got all excited, and then Mike Pence showed up and just let the air out of the balloon, you know. But that's kind of what they did last year too. But NACO organized nearly 100 commissioners that came into teams of about 13, 14 people, and had meetings set up with congressmen to talk about PILT. PILT is simply a law that requires the federal government to pay their property taxes in counties. And the average payment nationwide is 33 cents an acre. And doesn't sound like much per acre, but there's a formula that's very complex that deals with number of federal acres and population. If you have a lot of acres and a lot of population, you can get up to several dollars an acre in PILT payments. San Juan County has 3,059,000 acres that are taxed under PILT because of our population and more than anything than the amount of acres that we tax. We get 52 cents an acre for PILT. That's $1.595 million a year. There was several years ago when the Obama administration was in office, they chose not to pay their taxes that year, so we didn't get any PILT payment. But we got our PILT payment this year in March of 2019, but there's no money been appropriated for next year's payment. So we were on a mission to try and encourage Congress to give us a PILT payment next year and ongoing. We're hoping that they would budget for maybe a 10-year process, because we're going to be budgeting for next year's budget in November of this year, not knowing whether we're going to get a PILT payment or not. And SRS is similar to that. It's Secure Rural Schools money that comes to us from the harvest of timber products in the western states. San Juan County this year got a payment of $935,000 in SRS. So approximately 20% of our budget comes from these two programs, which is a pretty big deal for San Juan County. I'll show you the difference between Washington County has a pretty big population and quite a bit of federal land. They get $2.75 an acre in PILT payments. So again, the formula is pretty complicated. We were just simply there. We weren't asking for an increase in payments or anything like that. We just want to convince Congress that they need to pay their property taxes in these western states that have lots and lots of federal property. Got to meet with some pretty interesting people. We were sitting in the Eisenhower room cafeteria, and down the stairs came Karl Rove and Newt Gingrich. They get down to the bottom of the stairs, and there are about 10 commissioners from Utah sitting there, and Karl Rove says, "Well, where are you people from?" And we said, "We're from Utah." And I believe he was chief of staff under the Bush administration. He says, "Well, that's interesting." He says, "I graduated from Olympus High School in Salt Lake." He says, "We better get a picture of the Utah commissioners and me and Newt." So we got a nice picture with Karl Rove and Newt Gingrich. Got to meet with most of our congressional people: Ben McAdams, Senator Romney, John Curtis. They're all supportive of the PILT issue and want to see a long-term solution for PILT as well. But I really felt like it was a good trip, and I did an interview with NPR while I was in Washington, D.C., got home and did an interview with KCAT, or Red Meat Radio. That's their acronym. And just talking about PILT. It's a big deal to San Juan County, and we need to encourage Congress to pay their property taxes. So anyway, that's my report from the Washington, D.C. trip.
Good report, Bruce.
Is there any action
There's
by the county?
there is a bill in the
Encouragement or-
House right now to fund PILT for next year, but there's not one in the Senate yet.
Okay.
What, have you taken an action on it?
The
for the
county?
county?
No. No, we haven't. Maybe that's something we ought to
Should
do.
we?
You need to sponsor from UAC maybe,
Well, I think the county could draft a letter and send it to our delegation, but the only problem is, those are not the people that are holding it up. They're mostly senators and
Yeah.
representatives
Maybe,
from the eastern states they just don't understand what PIL is. That was one of the purposes we went back, is to try and
Mhm.
educate
they
some of these people.
usually don't. Especially when the new ones come in.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of
Yeah,
new ones
to-
came in this year.
re-educate, sort of
Mhm.
like, or educate them first.
Yep.
That's what happens. I think we need to
At
take
some,
an action.
at some point in time, maybe we need to go to either Washington or go to Salt Lake to meet with Rami, to give him an update on some of the things that are going on and the projects that we have. One of the things is that the trust fund issue is coming up for another debate. And maybe those are some of the things that we need to bring before and kind of educate them home back at the ranch, and then go into what Bruce just barely talked about, have some support in that area. So maybe look at some dates and see if you can maybe come up with some dates to where you can send us. He might be back in Salt Lake, or it could be in Washington or wherever. So, okay, well, thank you.
Representative Curtis is coming down next month
Yeah.
also, October. He promised me he'll be at Navajo Mountain, so I will hold him there until he says yes to all our requests. Turn him loose off the mesa.
He's supposed to be in Blanding on October the 2nd. That's what I have on my calendar. David, have you heard anything?
I have not.
I think he's coming, I don't know if it's a town hall meeting or exactly what it is, but
Okay.
I just have on my calendar that he was gonna be in Blanding on the 2nd.
Any chance he would be able to, you think, join you all for your commission meeting on the 1st in Blandon?
We ought to get a hold of him and find out.
Okay.
Well, it's 11:04, guys. Commissioner, I'd like to call this meeting to order. First of all, I'd like to ask our audience, we'd like to have you participate in either a small prayer, moment of silence, if you wish, and we would appreciate that. If not, one of the commissioners could do the invocation before we start, then we will go into our minutes and then the citizens' comments. Anybody would like to help? Jerry, thank you very much. You raised your hand several times.
Our dear Father in heaven, as we come before thee at the opening of this commission meeting, we ask thee, Father, that thy Spirit be here with us, so that all the questions and answers and decisions made here will be done in a pleasing manner unto thee and unto the citizens of San Juan County. We ask a special prayer upon those who are guarding our laws and our nation at this time. We ask thee, Father, to continue to be in our presence and to make the decisions useful. These things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jerry. Okay, we had time to review the minutes that was been emailed to all of us. Any comment, questions? If not, I'd like to have establish a motion to approve the minutes.
Well, motion.
Motion
To
by
accept the minutes.
Commissioner Gray Eyes. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. These are the September 3rd work meeting and commission meeting minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Any last comment to either one of those? If there be none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Aye. Citizens' comment. Again, folks, we go
Carolyn
in.
Daly.
Carolyn
Daly.
Daly will be the first one. When you come up and do your comment, those of you that are coming up as well, please understand that if we have a comment that's been addressed already, and let's try not to go over it again, and you're given 3 minutes to do your comment, and if anywhere somehow the comment seems to be going off to where it's feels like my commissioner is being attacked, I will stop the comment. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners. I want to first thank you for all you're doing for Spanish Valley. I assume you recognize me as Carolyn Daly from Spanish Valley by now. I want to also thank Commissioner Adams for speaking to two of us Spanish Valley residents yesterday. But I want to clarify for the other two commissioners that we asked Mr. Adams to please call David Ure, the director of SITLA, to try to stop the sale of that parcel of land to Loves. We did not request him to ask Mr. Ure to bring a PowerPoint presentation to the commissioners at the next meeting. I want to, back in 2018, residents were never included in the initial discussion for the county to support the Loves Truck Stop. And this is what has brought us into our present position with the residents of In Arms. The recent landmark study that gave an analysis of the public comments they received showed 92% of 174 people do not want a truck stop at that location in Spanish Valley. We are all still, we're not just anxious, we're terrified that a Love's Truck Stop will be built in our beautiful Spanish Valley. And although new ordinances prohibiting truck stops can be put into place, Love's possibly and quite probably will still be grandfathered in by your planning department under the existing ordinances. The first thing listed in Title 17, Chapter 27A of the Utah Code is that a county's duty is required to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of its residents. Many Spanish Valley residents have already spoken before you of the compelling reasons that a Love's Truck Stop threatens the health, safety, and welfare of nearby residents as well as the entire Spanish Valley community. So I'm curious to see what Mr. Ure is going to say to you at your next meeting. But I implore you, we cannot protect ourselves from the Loves Corporation or for SITLA. We need your help to stop this. I'm sorry, I'm quite upset right now. If the county wants a Love's Truck Stop, consider putting a nice new huge truck stop complex, Godzilla Plaza and restaurant near the way station in Monticello, where truckers already by law must stop and where it will not be nearby residents. We do not want one in Spanish Valley. Thank you.
Thank you.
Monet Clark.
Monley Clark.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Monette Clark. I live in Spanish Valley. I'm just here to, number one, thank Commissioner Adams for meeting with some of our people yesterday. We feel that he did listen from what I heard. And I'm just here to actually ask the county to take an action regarding the Love's Truck Stop. In December of 2019, Elise Erler wrote a memo. Pardon?
2018.
2018. This is 2019. She presented a memo to the Board of Administrators for SITLA recommending sale of that 13 acres to the Loves Corporation. And at the bottom of that memo, she had written one sentence that said that this sale had the approval of San Juan County. So due to the fact that many things have changed since December of 2018, including a new commission in San Juan County, and the fact that many citizens do not want the Love's truck stop right near their residences, and the fact that the Love's truck stop with 53 trucks idling would adversely affect the health of those people, as well as anybody who lives downwind. I think that the county should withdraw their approval of this project by writing a letter to Sitla specifically doing that, withdrawing approval for that sale. In other words, not supporting the sale. Also, so that's one thing. And then regarding the Planning Commission issues, Linda Smurs does live near Spanish Valley, but she isn't in Spanish Valley. And she applied first for the position, on that 7th position on the Planning Commission, which has been vacant. And as far as I know, the county hasn't really done that much to advertise the 7th position vacancy. And it seems to me like Bluff really didn't seem concerned about having a rep until Linda Smurs put in her app. I just wanted to bring that up. But nevertheless, whatever happens with appointing a 7th member, I hope you will, so that the board will have a complete 7 members making decisions. Thank you.
Huckabee. Marilyn Huckabee.
Hi.
Good
Special.
morning.
How are you all? Thank you all.
Good.
Appreciate the time you spend seeing our people, and goodbye to David soon. So I have a thought. Maybe you've thought of this yourself. Renewable energy is where we're going in our country. Why couldn't 13 acres be turned into a solar panel park? It's flat. There would not be a great amount of plowing or whatever to put it in. Rocky Mountain does give grants for good cause to help with the solar panels. And that would pay for your electrical bill, plus give you credit. It would not be obtrusive to the highway. It could have a parking for a few spaces for individual cars for people to relax. They could even have signage near the natural plants, so people that are traveling would see that we care about what we're growing, and we're also producing energy. So I just hope you would consider that. It seems to me it makes sense. It's not as obtrusive as the windmills, and they probably bring you money or something, credit. So think about it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I don't know if Bill Love's bringing Jerry up with him, but Bill Love.
Bill Love and Jerry McNeely.
How did Jerry McNeely get on that? The subject today is Sitla and the hundreds of thousands of dollars it's cost the residents of Grant County. Everything Sitla has done in Grant County has been sued, mostly by the residents. It was Cloud Rock, was a suit that lasted for 3 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars of residents' money. Sitla has property in Moab City that's currently under suit. The problem of this is Sitla has no concern, of course, for the residents. Sitla must be controlled by being subject to your land use codes. Sitla will not, in your land use codes, were asked to be exempt. They are exempt for their own development on their own property. The problem is Sittler tries to pass their exemption to third-party partnerships, third-party leasers, and this is where the suits come in. Sittler has a right. The state gives them a clear right that they can do anything they want. But to set up a third party into a development and say they also have a right is wrong. It's never gone to court. You must make sure Sittler is subject. They will not be subject, but their leasers will be subject and their partners will be subject to the land use code, and that's very, very important that they are. So I haven't been through the 10 code yet, but I'm quite sure buried somewhere in there is a clause that says Sittler will be exempt. And that should not be right. It's not done in any other county I know of.
Thank you very much. Patrick Bailey.
Patrick Berry from Spanish Valley. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I did do a review of the landmark planning ordinance, and I thought they did a fairly fair job of their presentation. The plan was laid out logically, well-defined, and I thought they just did an exceptional job of laying out a lot of the pros and cons. A lot of the things in there were in our option number 3 that received 92% of the vote plus. And some of the things that were not in there some things were in option 3 were not included in there. He took both from both sides, I thought. But overall, I thought he did a pretty good job with that. But there are some other things that need to be followed up on. Certain other things like noise and things like that that have to be valley-wide. That's going to need some continual work with Landmark, and hopefully that we'll be able to have that input into Landmark that we had in option number 3 with however it gets followed up with the additional things that will be needed. Just let you know that Landmarks in their original decision, Sittler did not listen to Landmark. Even though Sittler hired them and paid the money, Landmark said having Loves there is not compatible. And then when he said that, Mark said that publicly. And then when talking about Sky Ranch, he said, we would never recommend putting Sky Ranch, an airport, in the middle of a residential. Sittler and Bynum didn't listen to that one either. So anyway, I just want to let you know on that. As far as the current zoning ordinance, if Landmark gets in underneath the current zoning ordinance, it calls for automobile service stations, does not call for a truck plaza. There may be an argument between a truck plaza and an automobile plaza, but all those semis are not trucks. They are tractor trailers by definition. So that would exempt that part of Loves from going in there, even underneath the current ordinance. And this is what Sittler has to understand. So, and then even if that was to go in there, it'd have to be a conditional use, and those conditions would have to be spelled out. And the final thing is that the health department has yet to receive a Loves detailed plan, because the health department, and I can't remember the guy's name, short, stocky, dark black hair. I can't, anyway. They know. Kurt, thank you. And when I spoke with the EPA, they referred me to the health department. The health department has spoke with officials from Salt Lake City, and they are going to have input into it per our request. So I just wanted to update you pretty much on what has gone down and as far as what we know in the last couple of weeks, and wanted to say thank you very much for everything you folks have done and help with us, and I surely do appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we have all the comments that came before us, and thank you very much, and we will continue to do what we can to help in any way we can. So as we go down the line, the next item that we have on the item 3 is the resolution postponing date and public hearing relating to the insurance of water revenue. You want to weigh in on that?
Sure, this is you all had set the public hearing date for October 1st, but we hadn't gotten the address right because that meeting's going to be down in Blanding. And so with this kind of paperwork, every I must be dotted in a 2-point font pen. I mean, it's like the details are just very, very strict. So in order to comply, this is just postponing that hearing until the October 15th meeting back here.
That's a Mexican Hat Special Service District resolution
Correct.
on the issuing of their bonds for their water improvement.
Correct.
Okay.
This is all you're doing now is just setting, again, the date for the public hearing
Right.
about those bonds.
I would move that we would change the date from October 1st to October 15th for the Mexican Hat Special Service District public hearing for the sale of those water bonds.
Okay, motion is made to remodify the date to that public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we do have a second comment, and a while back, folks on the other side of the river was concerned about the lack of water, El Chita. I believe that I made the report on one of the commission meeting. Does that also affect this particular subject matter?
I don't believe so. I believe this is specific to only the Mexican Hat community, right? That area right
The only
there.
way it would affect them is if they come across the river to get water at the water outlet. But
Mexican
it
Hat.
doesn't obligate them
And
That's,
in any way.
north side?
that's what they're doing.
on the north side of the river.
North side.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next item, Nick Samber, approving comments to be sent to various federal agency.
I mentioned earlier in our work meeting that a draft response was at the bottom of this briefing paper, basically stating that San Juan County concurs with the findings in the current report for Regions 2 and 3. And I would modify that by adding, we concur with the current report for Regions 2 and 3 pertinent to San Juan County. Because that's really our only concern is the county right now. And the comment that would be made online. There's no opportunity for a paper document, evidently. Has to be online. So that's what I would propose the county response be.
Commissioners?
I would make a motion to approve the response from the county on the western corridor.
Okay, motion was to approve to the western corridor on this matter. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gray Eyes. Any last comment? There be none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you very much.
On the other matter, you had a concern about the meeting time for the Forest Service briefing on the 24th. I checked with the Forest Service and they're good with 10 o'clock. So we'll plan on 10 a.m. here.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
okay, Ben. Ratifying amendment to the road agreement with the U.S. Forest Services.
I guess I don't even know. Do we need a motion to ratify that? I don't know how it works, but this is the emergency repairs. Forest Service paying the county $22,000 for repairs made to the roads out on Elk Ridge.
Yeah, it's just a motion to ratify.
Yeah, it has to be. Motion by Commissioner Gray Eyes, and do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Adams, continue.
Okay, well that's that one.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then. the next item is the signing of the IGA with Navajo DOT for they're providing the local match for the bridge replacement at McCummel Creek of $99,926. Accompanying that agreement is a written letter which was presented this morning, acknowledging that collaboration with Navajo DOT and San Juan County will happen if needed to cover any construction overruns for the project as well, and not limiting us only to the $99,926.
Motion.
Motion, Commissioner Grealish, second by Commissioner Adams. All those in favor?
Question.
All questions, sir.
On your, mentioned the overruns. What does the IGA say?
The IGA, that's why we requested the letter. The IGA did not have a process that allowed. It's cut it off at the 99,000. That was it. And that's where we requested a modification to the IGA, but because any modification to the IGA has to go through Navajo Nation Department of Justice, we have to have all this documentation into and submitted by the end of this week, and that Department of Justice review would have probably taken a couple of months. So rather than modify the current IGA, we have a supplemental letter guaranteeing the cooperation for such overruns.
Oh, okay.
Okay, your motion still stands.
Yes, if there's appendix to the IGA, then fine.
We had a Navajo Itaka Mission meeting last week in Window Rock, and Tath Black Horse made a report saying that he was doing whatever he can to meet with the county to talk about the road issue. I said, we've been trying, we've been knocking on your door, and what's going on? When are we going to move on this? And apparently, I don't know what's going on, but it's getting real frustrating what they're doing. The IGA needs to be signed, and we need to move on this road. And maybe make another last attempt to send another letter according to the report that he's made at the Navajo Itaka Mission, a report that he did on trying to make some contact with the county. In addition to that, tell them that we do need to meet, and that needs to happen right away. Appreciate that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
You can sign right there.
Thank you, Ben. Sir. Planning Zoning Commission member.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
As stated earlier, we've received application to fill a seat on the San Juan County Planning Commission from a resident of Bluff. That resident is Leanne Schrank. So I'm here to propose that name to fill that position.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She's been a resident since 2006 of San Juan County. Has owned several businesses in the Bluff area. I believe that she's qualified to
Concurred
assist.
by the city of Bluff and the mayor as well, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, commissioners, Commissioner Gray Eyes motions to accept and acknowledge the name that was given to us. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Adams. Any comment, questions? There be none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And I believe the terms are staggered, so we'll put her on at 2021. So we have 4 seats open in 2021 and 3 seats that'll close in 19. So, all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Linda Simmons, San Juan County EMS Director.
Linda is en route back from Blanding, so maybe we could postpone this one until a little bit later.
Okay, approved Board of Equalization recommendation, John David.
Okay. To so every year as when there are disclosures of proposed property taxes that go out to all the property owners in San Juan County, and they have the opportunity to come to what's known as the Board of Equalization if they disagree with the value that is assessed on their property. And so what we do, we have a hearing officer that comes down from the Ogden area to listen to anybody that comes in to discuss or to dispute the value on their property. And so what we have before you is are the list of parcels and the people who came in to discuss that, and the recommendations made by the hearing officer and the assessor.
Okay, as we're flipping through the pages, Commissioner, any comments?
Any questions?
Questions or position?
Question.
Commissioner.
Let's say the first one, Williams, it says 2 parcel. There's 2 different numbers on it.
Right. So
Why is that?
So each number is a parcel, and William Boyle has 2 parcels, 2 pieces of property in his name, and it looks like he was requesting that they be put into Greenbelt.
So you said the recommendation. Those are the recommendations.
So yeah, so the
But there is no determination as to the status after the hearing, or has the hearing taken place?
The hearing has already taken place.
So what's the results?
So these are the results. For example, the first 2, where he's saying that the 2 parcels should be put into Greenbelt. Before the hearing, they were not in Greenbelt, on Greenbelt status, and he came and talked to the hearing officer, and the recommendation is that they are put into Greenbelt.
Okay.
All right.
And then it should say the determination over here.
Right.
This is just saying.
It's just saying, yeah.
The recommendation, determination is what I was looking for.
Okay. So so Greg Adams, he had he put together this worksheet, and it can be, we can fine tune it, and kind of make it put a recommendation on the other end, but he was coming back from out of town last night and kind of put this together quick.
This is the recommendation
Right.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Determination by the hearing officer would be underneath it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That way, it'll give me, right now, just the recommendation, that's all. I don't know the results.
Well, and what he's putting on here, the recommendation is the recommendation of the hearing officer, the determination of the hearing officer.
No. It's not clear to me.
And we can update this form to make it more readable too.
Maybe we should do
Yeah.
that and see what the,
Determination, that's what I was looking for.
okay, any other comments, commissioners? Any recommendations besides the terminations and comments and what needs to be proceeded to have a better understanding to the Board of Equalization findings and readings?
I think it's important to understand that the hearing officer is an independent officer that does not live in the county and will not be influenced by any misrepresentation or whatever on these properties, and so I think these are fair evaluations of the properties and we ought to accept them. In fact, I'd make a motion that we accept the Board of Equalization recommendations for 2019.
A motion's been made to accept the Board of Equalization's recommendations with explanatory of how the process works. Do I have a second to that?
Second, with the insertion that underneath those recommendations, there needs to be a determination by the hearing officer, either concur or not concur with the recommendation. So a clear communique would be in order.
Okay.
And after, I mean, once these are approved, then I send a letter to each one of these individuals spelling that out so that they can see what was recommended, what was determined, and they have 45 days to appeal that decision to the state tax commission if they wish. So.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay.
With the recommendations.
Okay.
Okay,
And I'm on there next also.
oh, okay, okay.
There was a beer license that was submitted to the county. So I think you have a copy of the application in the packet along with two letters of two letters from people who are speaking to the applicant's character. And so what you need to do is if you approve the application, then we allow the individual to sell the alcohol at the location specified, and if not, then.
Thank you very much. The application request from LaSalle Junction to reopen one of the establishment there,
Mm-hmm.
and also to be selling liquor
No, this
on
is just
site.
for beer
The-
only.
Yeah, it's called the liquor license, but yeah,
Yeah.
she's just selling beer
Class A
in the
is
store.
just beer
Yeah.
only.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We need to sell more beer in San Juan County.
we do. We need to stop brewing our own.
You heard it here, folks.
There's no school or church nearby, and it's just,
No, it's at the LaSalle Junction is your turn off, so
Mhm.
it's
well, we
By
might be able to
itself.
fix Jerry McNeely's Weary right down the road from
Is it there
on Wilson's
now?
Arch.
So the waiting time for that lasting, you can wait there.
Do I have a second to the motion?
probably could.
Yeah. Second,
Second by Commissioner Gray Eyes. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Well,
Thank you.
where's the license that I need to sign?
Well, we haven't made it yet. I
Okay.
can make it and
All right. Linda?
Yeah. Sorry I'm late.
You still
I'm on
huffing
a
and
landing today.
huffing and a
so-
puffing?
I know, I was running up here. So I am requesting some out-of-state travel for myself and two of my employees. Our ambulances are done. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but we were granted 3 ambulances by grant by CIB, which extremely appreciative of CIB for
Brand new ones.
brand new ones. Brand new ones. And we would like to go to Florida and pick them up. By doing this, we save about $9,000. And it's gonna cost me about $4,500 to go out there and bring them back. So we'll be making,
Hours drive.
well, a lot longer than that. But one of the nice things about going out there is we get to see the plant where they're made, and they also let us go through all the ambulances. If we need to make any adjustments to them, they'll do it while we're there before we drive them out here. So it does save us some money, and then we also get to see how they're made and fix any flaws that they have before they ship them from Florida to here.
Okay, good. Commissioners, I feel this is a good. Commissioner Gray has motions. Do I have a second?
Second, I think Patrick just volunteered to go with you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And just to,
We'll go free of
One
charge.
You
just-
could turn the
there
sirens and
back.
lights on and just.
I know, we could
Shoot
just go
home.
fast, right? And again, I just like to thank CIB for being so generous on granting us these 3 trucks. That saved the county, along with my department, a lot of money. So I'm just super appreciative of that, and thanks for letting us go get them.
Well, David,
How
let
much-
the CIB
how
know
much
that
money?
we really appreciate that.
So CIB donated us 500,000.
The cost,
Oh, to go out to Florida or the ambulances?
ambulance.
So the ambulance, the total cost for all 3 of them that CIB granted us is $550,000.
It's a big deal.
Big deal.
Good, good.
Personal
Okay, all those in
sacrifice
favor?
we made.
So
Aye. All right, well,
thank you so much.
be safe. Godspeed. Okay, Commissioners report. Who would like to start? Commissioner Adams already did his report, and which is a good report. Washington, Willie?
We had a Western Navajo Agency Council meeting last Saturday. That's when I heard the $170,000 from you, and I asked to see if Black Horse could put it in writing. So I don't know.
I asked him.
He probably verbally said yes, but nevertheless, you
But for
never
the-
know.
But for the record, he did, so we can still jump on it.
Yeah. So that's good. I think it's coming up. I don't know if it's between the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the county, or is it INDOT and the county? So that's what I wanted to know. We'll have some monies to kick around, I guess, for roads maintenance. Thursday, I believe I'll be in Price for the 7 county commissions, and I'll be up there and then come back down to Navajo Mountain the next day for a school board meeting. I don't know about the, there's an invitation. Next week I'll be going up to Salt Lake City to attend Native Voting Conference. And they'll be ending 27th, I believe, 25th, 26th, and 27th. Then I'll be, I'm invited to Spanish Valley.
Yes. Yes.
But we also have a chapter meeting on the 28th, so
That's
I
the
need
29th.
to.
Your meeting's the 29th.
29th, it's a Sunday.
So I'm not sure as to how my schedule will pan out, so.
I'm sorry, did you mention the morning of the 27th?
Oh, 23rd, is it 23rd or 25th? 23rd is, I'll be in Blanding for that economic diversity.
The 23rd, yes.
24th, I'll be here at 9 o'clock
Yes.
for a short meeting, 10 o'clock for another short meeting, I hope. So
Sounds good.
that will take care of my whole week. But I don't know how to fit into the 29th.
Maybe we can change it so you can come.
Oh, okay. That's flexible.
We'll think about
I
it.
like changes. We'll talk about that.
That it?
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Thank you very much.
That's it.
That's a good report. I will be around. Last week, I attended several chapter meetings on the road issue. One of the things that Annette and Red Mesa requested is the center line, all the way from Redford all the way to Red Mesa chapter. Nighttime, the road seems to blend right into the whole ground, they say. So they would like to have the center line, especially the elders. They can't see the center line. So that's one of the things that they requested. Other than that, pretty much the road issue is one of the biggest concerns that they have right now. And I just told them that we're doing whatever we can to do what we can with who we have and what we got. And so far it's not moving because of the Navajo Nation side is dragging its feet. And they have other requests that they would like to talk about as a special meeting to talk about the road and some other issues. So that's what I will be attending this week. Navajo Utah Commission had a meeting up in Window Rock, and this is where the Tath Black Horse came before the commission to talk about the he's trying to get a hold of the county and doing whatever he can to work with the county.
Did you give my cell phone number?
Yes, I did. I even gave Willie's number to him too,
Oh,
so,
good.
and Bruce's number. So make sure that he contacts somebody. And I said, I need, just right then, Willie texts back and he said, we want it in writing. I said, I want your report in writing, what you've done. So he agreed to that, and hopefully I get that soon enough. And then, other than that, we had a couple of weddings in Radford, and we had the meeting down in Cow Spring. The Navajo Government Development Commission got together and talked about the Arizona and the Coconino County road issues. And it seems like things are going pretty smoothly with whatever they can with NDOT on their end. Not very much, 15 miles of road to each chapter. So that's where they're at. I will be going to the Native American Voting Right Conference in Salt Lake. And again, request to see if we can meet with Rami as soon as possible to talk about the trust fund issue that's going to be coming up again. And I have a text from Phil Lyman. He wants to meet with me, so we'll be getting together somewhere in Blanding sometime to talk about certain things, and basically that's about it. And thank you very much for coming and to be part of our meeting. And a lot of these things are moving slowly, but a lot of you I haven't seen for quite some time. Thank you very much. And also my friend way down at the end, Jalam. And we'll continue to work, and we will adjourn after our,
Closed session.
yes,
I just wanted to ask if, I don't make sure I understood, is the next official commissioners meeting on the 24th? And is that when
Special.
David Ure will make his presentation? No, first. What's on the 24th?
The 24th is a special meeting to address the possible settlement on attorney's fees with the Navajo Nation.
I see.
Just
Okay.
that's it though.
Okay,
There
good.
won't be any
So
public comment or anything.
The next official meeting will be when? Then?
October 1st in Blanding.
In Blanding. So that presentation will be made in Blanding.
Presumably, if he wants to do it on October 1st, then yes.
Thank you for clarifying.
thank you. With that, I guess we'll go into executive session. And after that, we will adjourn the meeting. Since the executive
Make a motion, we
session-
go into our executive session.
Motion is made to go into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gray, ayes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I don't know who we would like to have stay.
Am I excused?
No. Nice try.
Oh.